Hello and welcome to Community of Independence Season 3, Episode 3, the first in our series to make use of our new high-budget sound effects boards.
Brought to you by the Beamish Bursary Award Scheme.
Coming up on tonight's show, we're going to have music and chat in the studio from Big Monster Love.
Aww.
Didn't really make sense. We'll also have Aoife Barry reporting from Granby Park and also speaking to Hands Up Who Wants to Die.
Featuring Barry Lennon.
Yeah, featuring Barry Lennon. And also we'll be speaking to Dean Scurry about working class records. See, that's not even hip-hop. That's not really... But we begin tonight's show.
Featuring Barry Lennon.
Yeah, they already know that it's featuring Barry Lennon. We've already mentioned that. Am I going to have to compete with this sound effects board the whole time?
Brought to you by the Beamish Bursary Award Scheme.
Yeah, I suppose you just played that because I said sound effects boards.
Brought to you by the Beamish Bursary Award Scheme.
That's terms and conditions. Did we sign on that? Can we give the money back? We spent it all on the sound effects board.
Brought to you by the Beamish Bursary Award Scheme.
But we begin tonight's show with Patrick Kelleher. Turn off the lights and cry. Featuring Barry Lennon.
As long as somebody's able to say it's okay. Which way, fingerless lady? As long as somebody's able to say it's okay. Swine with their awful behavior. Do yourself a favor, put out the lights and cry. Okay, complaints, it's hard to forget. And don't say no chance for a man your age. I have to tell, it's gonna be another person. I have to tell, it's gonna be fun. Another person.
There you go. Beach time fun and frolics with Patrick Kelleher. That's his new video, Put Out the Lights and Cry. It was made by Rupert Morris, also of Bats. I'm joined by Dean Scurry of Working Class Records. Thank you very much for coming on to the show. How are you?
Savage.
Savage. Okay, that's my good settler question out of the way. Now can I ask you, going back in time,
Tell me about yourself.
2004, you started Working Class Records around Urban Intelligence.
Yeah.
First group on the label. What attracted you to them? What made you start a label around them?
It's 2003, and back then I was a hip hop fan, and there wasn't much hip hop in this country, homegrown stuff. And I kind of became a fan of Damo Dempsey, who's now a mate of mine, and I was struck by how he used his own accent to get across the message. And he was trying to rap, but he wasn't that good.
Yeah.
And there was young guys who could rap that I knew in the area where I lived in Ballymun, but they had American accents and they rapped about American issues. So I kind of threw down the challenge to a guy that I was introduced to by a friend of mine, a guy called Lunatic. I knocked on his door and I said, "Hello, I heard you can rap. Give us a verse." He spit a verse from me and it was American accent about George Bush. So I said, "Here's Damo Dempsey's album. Go and have a listen to that and come back to me when you've got a little bit more lateral knowledge," you know.
And I mean, there was no audience for what they were doing at the time. So building this from nothing, like, how did you generate interest in Working Class Records?
We made music that appealed to us. That's kind of the trick to what we do. We make stuff that appeals to us, and we kind of put out quality over quantity. But over 10 years now, we have, you know, amassed quite a backlog of work, or a catalogue of work that's quality.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just kind of put out music that we were interested in, that made our heads nod, that made us smile, and the kind of litmus test was if the hair stood up on your arm, the track was good enough to go on an album. Yeah. But we also grabbed a moment in time because we went around the country and we made Homemade Bombs EP, which kind of took, without us judging too much, a snapshot of where everybody was, or where any people that we reached out to were in terms of Irish hip hop, and we recorded them and put them on an album and gave it out.
So you made those connections beyond Dublin.
Yeah, and also we captured a moment when most of the Irish rappers were rapping in an American accent, and then we brought out an EP, and one of the tracks was specifically stated that this is the moment now when this will stop, and we'll start to be confident in ourselves and start to rap in our own dialects, our own accents about our own issues.
And did it change overnight like that? Did you?
That was it. It was done. You know, there was a few stragglers and like some guys that I met after that moment who were just getting into hip hop would come to me with an American accent, or they was, you know, put stuff out in an American accent. I got thousands of CDs, or have done over the last 10 years from guys, and the first kind of bit is an American accent up until recently, like last week. But they kind of soon get it that it's about just being yourself. That's what the whole hip hop thing is about. They're keeping it real, cliche, which is now kind of over cliched, is all about that.
And like getting all these people now interested in the label, bringing their stuff to you, that must be an exciting moment for you, because initially you're just interested in what people are doing around you, the place you grew up, the place that you're living. Like, what's it like getting different people sending stuff into you?
Yeah, it's a bit irritating sometimes, but it's also, it kind of keeps you humble and helps you keep your feet on the ground. And you know, it's interesting that you know, there's still guys out there in this country who would go, "Am I good enough? I'm not sure. Let me send my CD to this guy and see what he thinks." And sometimes I go, I'm not interested in giving any critique on this, because I think, you know, just go off and do it. And then if other, you know, there's other guys and they can do just a little bit of push in the right direction. I won't go all Simon Cowell on it, but you know, I'll offer a little bit of support. I've been doing this for long enough, and I come from a community and a youth work background, and that type of interaction is second nature at this point, you know.
And like on the go for a few years then, did you find that people embraced what you guys were doing and that you got support for what Working Class Records was trying to do?
Depends on who you do it for, you know.
Okay, how do you mean?
Okay, so if it's a north side working class young man, they'll get it straight away. If it's an elitist run media, they just don't want that to do with it, like, you know what I mean? So we're just pushing on through it.
Yeah.
We're tapping on some doors and we're kicking other doors through. And I don't, if people celebrate it, fantastic. If they don't, we're going to do it anyway. Because we believe in it, we're passionate about it. It excites us still to this day. Like, we've got 3 releases coming out before Christmas. We've got a 10-year gig coming up. We have a film that's going to come out. We're still kind of in the middle of it, excited by it. So happy days.
Long way it run. Okay, well, we'll talk a bit about the film and some future projects in a couple of minutes' time. But for now, Dean, thanks very much.
No problem, bro. Thanks very much.
Well, now we're going to have a look at Aoife Barry speaking to the Leviathanic heavy core band, Hands Up Who Wants to Die.
Now, it's quite interesting to see slightly sedate, because at a Hands Up Who Wants to Die gig, it's not very sedate at all now, is it, Barry?
I guess not necessarily. It's kind of can be a bit full on at times, like when we're playing.
Do you want to maybe describe what would happen at a typical gig of yours, or what your approach is when it comes to playing live?
Well, I guess I don't know if there's an approach. It just kind of naturally kind of happens in a way that I guess I'm not really on the stage at all. I'm usually out in the crowd and in people's faces, so trying to pull them in and get them a part of what we're doing, as opposed to just standing still. And usually if you're standing still, you're usually victim to me getting in your face.
Kill the barber! Bring them in! There's no unbroken tongue! There's bittersweet! Kill the barber! Bring them in!
Yeah, that idea of bit of a lunatic frontman to kind of make the live show more of a celebration or a spectacle kind of was part of the original idea as well, rather than just people playing guitars and singing on stage,
Yeah, I was going to ask exactly. You answered my question, like that. Was that something from day one that you thought that it was important for you to have that, or that you felt that was missing in other bands that you're watching, and you thought, why aren't people doing this, or why don't we take the opportunity to do this? Was that something that you were kind of thinking at the time when you formed?
Yeah, it was something I was thinking of anyway, just because, apart from like punk bands or whatever in Ireland, you wouldn't see that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I mean, even though that probably hasn't changed a huge amount since you started, because that's obviously something that's been there since day one, in what ways have you changed as a band in the kind of intervening years since you formed?
Well, with this new batch of songs, we kind of made a conscious decision to spread out a bit musically. Like, I suppose there's kind of more delicate moments and more kind of brutal, sludgy moments and more wonky moments than we had done before. So, and then the recording, we recorded an album there last year, and that's still being mixed. But I suppose the approach to that was like with that in mind as well, of kind of spreading out and there being more colours and variations in sounds and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we gave it a lot more time to breathe as well, because we weren't really under any time constraints of a label or having to do it. So I guess that gave us a bit more time to play with it as an album, as opposed to with the previous album, we'd gone to Frankfurt in Germany and we recorded in a finite amount of time, and I was happy with the album, but it's nice to actually go back and kind of understand it a bit more and have more time to play with stuff with the mixing process. And the guy we're mixing with, Spud in Gorilla Sound Studios in Dublin, is like absolutely amazing, and I think he's done a lot of stuff that hasn't been as heavy as us before, so he's experimenting a lot.
And as a band, you've done some interesting travelling as well. I believe you went to Belarus and you've gone to other places as well. Am I right? You've done some kind of gone to interesting places. What's that like?
On that tour we did, we went to Eastern Europe, and it was Belarus, Ukraine, and Lithuania, and we toured with the band Gestamo Orchestra from Berlin, and that was just mind blowing to go there. I always wanted to go to the Eastern Bloc and see that kind of lifestyle and all that. So that was just a real culture shock, compared to going to European cities or whatever, where kind of you have somewhat the same kind of atmosphere in a lot of mainland Europe. But it was like, that was really interesting to do, and really interested to see that culture and like play them places. And you know, it was just very interesting. Even like I remember some of the places we played, they didn't even know where Ireland was, let alone England, and it was kind of a weird kind of place to jump into. Did we even have a 10-inch out? We had a 10-inch out. We didn't have the album out, I don't think. At that
No, I
stage.
didn't have the album yet.
So it was kind of interesting to go and play there, and
Some of the best gigs we ever played
Yeah.
as well, and some of the best promoters. And
yeah, really amazing people. Like an atmosphere. Like I remember, where was that in Belarus?
Horodna, is it? The place in
Horodna,
the
yeah.
lockup? Yeah.
In the lockup, and it was like just in this like garage lockup. They just treated us so well. Like they
Yeah.
were really nice people. Like, you know, it was real community. Like when they pulled together to
Yeah,
do
it was
stuff.
immediately like we'd been
Yeah.
friends for years and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
as well. Yeah.
And in a place where there was like, you know, very little money compared to like other places you can play, and it can be a different dynamic. I remember when we went to play one show in Switzerland, but like the place we played in was fully funded by the government and had like a cafe, a library, a venue, an art space, you know, and you had all these different layers of different, you know, and then there were places that were squats or, you know, subcultures that were sustaining themselves, whereas here you're playing a lot of the time pubs or then pub circuits, which are great as well, but it's nice to kind of play some place that is somewhat their own autonomous thing, and you get to play within them circles, so there's a lot more support for bands or musicians.
So, and do you have any, you know, kind of big plans for touring and you know, in the next little while, or is it all concentrating on kind of recording or working on the new stuff, or what's the...
Well, I guess the main thing is finishing our second album now, which I said we're mixing now at the moment, so we've just been concentrating on that. We're going to hopefully have something out now before the end of the year off that, and then look at trying to see about releasing that into next year. We usually do one European tour, hopefully maybe a South American tour this time.
Yeah, so, yeah.
If anyone wants to sponsor us for that, or do a funded or something for us, we'll go to South America.
That's great. Well, listen, best of luck with finishing everything with the
Thanks,
new
Eva.
record, and hopefully you'll get that tour to South America as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Whoever's watching, they can get in touch with
Yeah.
Community of Independence. Thanks, Barry and Paul from Hands Up Who Wants to Die. And this has been Community of Independence, and I'll bring you back to the studio now to Danny.
Barry Lennon and the Soft Cat from Hands Up Who Wants to Die speaking to Aoife Barry. You're going to see a performance from them later in the show. But I am here with Dean Scurry. We were talking earlier about the start of Working Class Records. Something very exciting happening tomorrow night in the IFI. It's going to be running for a week. Tell us about it.
Yeah, we have a film. We have a film out.
Does that feel weird to say?
I have a book. Yeah, we have a film that we kind of got funding from the Arts Council to make, kind of capture a moment in time for Working Class Records and its artists. And it's kind of done in an arty way, but it's a really, really nice watch. And there's a great kind of feeling that you get from watching it, that this is real. You know, that we're not trying to send these lads up or patronise them or put them out there as hard. It's just a real kind of nice 60 minutes about who these lads are, and it kind of celebrates their art form in a non-US hip-hop way.
Okay. Well, let's have a look at the trailer, so.
It's the same noise, just a different day. Trying to live my life in a more ambitious way. So many people lost, caught up in a vicious game. Gotta live my dreams, set my soul free. Feel the passion of my flame. Let it blaze, let it blaze. Hey, hey, hey. I'm headed back to where I was before. Trying to find guidance, don't wanna hear no noise no more. But your smile's deceiving, you and me were not the same. Gotta live my dreams, set my soul free. Feel the passion of my flame. Let it blaze. Blaze. 'Cause I know that things are gonna change, but I'm not gonna sit here and pray for brighter days. See, I'm searching for something. It's been gone for too long, and I needed to find my way back home. Oh, oh, oh. Way back home. Oh.
They are an exclusive first look at some of the footage from Broken Song that was Willa Lee and Dara Lynch performed for us. So that's going to be in the film. Obviously the film's shot in black and white. You said it's a bit more artistic, but it's very much fly on the wall, just looking at their everyday life and what they do around making music.
Yeah, so they, like most musicians, they eat, sleep, drink and dream music, and we put the cameras on them and follow them around. There's some ups and downs in it, like Willa, who was in that piece, is in court for some illegal activities, and you'll have to wait till see the film to see what happens there. Yeah. Does he go to court, or does he go to prison, or does he go and support Action Bronson in the Twisted Pepper? I don't know. So we had a bit of fun with that, but it was tense and it was very real, you know. So yeah, you'll see when you watch the film, cool. When you go to the IFI or when you download it illegally off the interweb.
All right. Well, what about the future releases for Working Class Records? Having that, obviously that moment captured in time, it's a good moment for 10 years. Like, how do you feel looking back from where you started to where you are today with the label?
We've done it through the boom when. Specifically in the area I live in, which is North Dublin, Ballymun, and I'm get to be around Blanchardstown and Finglas. We didn't see the boom, so we just done this through, and the whole rest of the country was having great times with helicopters and all this type of crack and buying mad houses, and we just continued to do what we were doing and run this label. And now on the back of that, when it's all falling apart, we have this really interesting kind of catalogue of where these young men were in that whole process. And we have an exciting kind of life in terms of we do exactly what we want to do musically, artistically, gig-wise. We put releases out when we want. We charge what we want, or else we don't charge. You know what I mean? It's just between myself and the artists, we have kind of free reign to do artistically what we please to do, which is very refreshing.
Cool. Well, is there anything specific, bar the film, that you want to tell us about in the future?
In the Twisted Pepper in December, we have our 10-year celebration, which is going to be nuts. And Costello and Moss Chops have an album called Cosmos. For Real has his first solo album called Armageddon. GI has possibly 2 album releases. One is Nostalgic Future and the other one is Black Tuna. Cool. So we've 3, probably 4 releases between now and then, and Willa's working on his album as well. So
it keeps you busy.
Yeah, it's good. It's good crack. When I'm not doing computer science in college, I'm doing this.
Very good. Well, look, thanks very much for coming into the show. Tell us all about it.
No problem. It's great. Thanks very much.
Okay. Well, now we're going to have a look at Hands Up Who Wants to Die, recorded live in the Button Factory. Let's take a look.
It goes a little Let's go a little while. Let's go. Uppity! Screams at these walls! Its words to the young. Forgive these broken tongues. Headlines blur to create another dilemma. A problem. Scalpel teeth in Texas body. Scraping at this soul. Got to flash. Emptiness grows. Take it all, take it all, take it all, take it all. Right there! Right there! Right there! They speak so little these days. I think they say so much. I see true dares. I see what they hide behind. I see true dares. They won't see true mind. I see what they hide behind. Uppity! Uppity! I see true dares. They won't see true mind. I see what they hide behind. In men they build solitude. In women burn. Come forward. In between these sets, come forward. Is where you find. In men they build solitude. True women burn. In between. Uppity. In men they build solitude. True women born in between. Uppity. As this city burns, washed away. As this city burns, washed away. In men they build solitude. True women born in between. Uppity. In this city. In this city. Uppity. Thank you, Gurmela Guada, 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 Gurmela Guada.
Oh, hello. This week I'll be reviewing the new EP, Pal Magnet by Alarmist. It's an instrumental EP that's fast-paced, yet relaxing at times, with a hypnotic feeling. Overall, I found the EP good, and I really enjoyed it, and you can find it at Bandcamp for whatever price you want. And what do you think, Giles Holland? Back to you, Danny.
Joe Blade with an insightful assessment of the Billy Roll enthusiasts Alarmist and their new EP Pal Magnet. Before that we had Hands Up Who Wants to Die recorded live with their new track Scoops. Hey, ever wondered what Hasidic heavy metal looks like? Well, wonder no more, as this Friday night Israel's most accomplished Oriental metal band Orphaned Land come to town. There they are. Yeah, €20 into that one in the pint on Friday night with support from Clone and the Mars Chronicles. Yeah. Alternatively, Friday night in the Academy, it's like Spirit Never Closed Down as Defect and Trans Army Ireland team up for a night of mayhem, €10 in, featuring all your favourite remixes of Fields of Athenry and Country Road, West Virginia. A Saturday night in the Button Factory, €13 in for an evening of public service broadcasting. Yeah. Pat Rabbit DJing at that one there. Looks to be an informative and educative evening for all involved in the Button Factory. Saturday night in Whelan's, former COI guests Dot are launching their debut album Swoon. Support at that one from the Run-Ons and Little X's for Eyes. Saturday night in the Workman's Club with funding from the Arts Council of Ireland's Touring and Work Dissemination Scheme. Rolls off the tongue that. Gets the heartbeat racing. The FMC tour is coming to Dublin with Daithí, Funeral Suits and The Galaxy all playing that one. Do we have permission to mention that gig? I'll fill out the form later. O2 Arena, Saturday night Sigur Rós, Sunday night Queens of the Stone Age, but more importantly Wednesday night Cheerio Childline concert presented by Nicky Byrne. Did offer my services, but they wanted to pay for a professional, so their loss. And that's featuring The Wanted, Shane Filan and the Jimmy Cake. €35 into that one. Did I say Jimmy Cake? No, I meant Little Mix. Little Mix. I always get them confused in my head, similar styles. So they're playing the O2 on Wednesday night. And now we're going to have a look at a VT made by Aoife Barry at Granby Park back when Dublin was a sunny haven of warmth and delight. And let's all enjoy that memory.
Welcome to Community of Independence. I'm Aoife Barry. This is Granby Park and it's the last day that it's open, so we decided to pop over to hear some of the bands who are playing. They include Bats and Crayonsmith. They're rather good, but there's also some really strange art here too. Join us for the next couple of minutes while we chat to some of the bands and some of the organisers and check out some of the fixtures.
We tried.
I'm here with Barry and Niall from Bouts, and you just got off stage as well. We're having a habit today of grabbing people just as they've got off stage. But are you happy with how the gig has gone here in Granby Park?
Lovely setting. The gig was fine. We're a little out of practice at the moment, but that's going to change very, very, very soon. But it's amazing. This place is amazing.
Yeah, what's it like to play somewhere like here? Because you were saying it was your first time playing in a Pallet Amphitheatre, but it is also a pretty cool space. So what was it like, say, for you, Niall, for example?
It felt like we were at South by Southwest, something like that. It was really weird. Like the sun was beaming directly down on us. I guess it's 3 o'clock now, so yeah, it was intense.
It's a lot of plywood, and it's outdoors, and it's the sun.
Yeah.
And we've never really done any of those three things.
So it's almost a bit foreign for Dublin, really, to be playing in.
Yeah.
And come here, you were saying you were a bit out of practice, but that's for good reason when you're saying out of practice live, because you've been doing a bit of recording, I hear.
A little bit, a tad of recording. And,
a year and a half.
We've just finished it, so we had to take a bit of time off before we killed each other. And now it's going to release the album, and that's the next big thing for the foreseeable future. We're going to push it, and people will like it.
I'm winding it down now.
I'm here at Granby Park chatting to Temperamental Miscellaneous, who literally just got off the stage. So, hi Lane, we grabbed you off stage. How did the gig go?
It went really good, yeah. Technically grand, and I was received very well, and it's for all ages and for everybody, you know. So it's great to have such a diverse show, but it to be so all encompassing and so welcome to all. Like, you know, we had like people who were knee height to grasshoppers, and they were even contributing some vocals as well. So I just have to teach them the hook, and you know, so everyone gets together and gives me a dig out for the show.
And that's the thing about here, isn't it, that you've got so many people of different ages and that it's very collaborative. Do you really enjoy playing a place like this?
Oh yeah, I love that, you know, but and I don't feel like I'm limited either, because I generally like to keep my lyrical context open in that respect as well, you know, and also just like my show as well would be quite physical and quite performance vibe. I'd be very focused on how I deliver bodily as well as verbally or intellectually. So yeah, so it's a great experience overall, and it's great that everybody's welcomed in, and just a great vibe here because it's so open. I think people are actually baffled a little bit by it initially. And it's like, no, you're free, you can do what you want. I mean, one of the young people said to me, yeah, sometimes we love it here, but sometimes there's nothing here. And I was like, that's because there's a space for you to create something though. So I was trying to portray that to someone who's 4 or 5, you know, in a way that they'll understand.
You gonna help me out? Alright then. Systematic. What is it? Systematic. Come on. Systematic. Leave me on my own. Systematic. Systematic, parasitic, public psychosis. Media carnage is organized to provoke us. Intrinsic, cohesive, repellent, righteous and rigorous. Christ of society without tenants, please deliver us. Systematic. Right, say in your head then. Systematic and hypnotic. Systematic. Systematic, parasitic, public psychosis. Media carnage is organized to provoke us. Intrinsic, cohesive, repellent, righteous and rigorous. Christ of society without penance, please deliver us. Who needs a free mind? I can get a mind for free. I stylize mind from an ad on TV. Brutalize, put your thoughts on standby and invite their demise. Psychological hush.
I'm here with Zisha Spring, and you're the lady who's responsible for all of the great music that we've been hearing at Granby Park. Now, it's the last day today. How does it feel to kind of look back on the 1 month here, but the many months that you spent working on putting it all together?
Yeah, it's incredible just to see, you know, that it has been such a success, the entire project. Yeah, it's a really, really good feeling to be wrapping it up. It's been really hectic. So I'm really sorry to see the space go and things like that, but yeah, to know that the hard work we put in has all been worth it is an amazing feeling.
And how was it kind of putting it all together? You know, you started obviously a good few months before Granby Park actually opened, but what was the process like putting together all the different kind of events and gigs?
It was a little ramshackle, as is the Granby Park way. What it constituted really was just getting in touch with bands who we know who are local or, you know, around Ireland that we like, that we think would suit the space, that would have fun with playing here, and just reaching out to them and asking if they wanted to get involved, just for the sheer joy of being part of the project. And the response to that was incredible. So many awesome people. Well, it turns out awesome people like doing awesome stuff.
Seems to be a really good kind of atmosphere at the gigs, and what's really interesting is that you have lots of little kids and their parents listening to bands like Bats, who were just on a minute ago. What does it feel like seeing all that sort of thing happen?
Really good. That's what the vibe of the park is all about. It's not like going to a gig, it's just a family friendly event in a cool space. Yeah, it's really good crack seeing kids getting to have that sort of level of entertainment, and the bands love it as well. It's really, like, I think it was probably a first for Bats to have like kids running around and you know, boogieing down to their music. It's brilliant.
It's going to be a start of something new. I mean, I think it would be probably very inspirational for people to see that you can put on that kind of music at any time of the day and people will love it, kids included.
Yeah, well, I don't know that everybody loved it. We definitely kept Bats till the last day, so that if there was any complaints, we could go, no, we won't do it again.
So it lived up to your expectations then after all that planning and everything?
Exceeded them. My expectations were dazzlingly low because I didn't know that I could put something together like this. I mean, I knew that everybody else involved in the project is amazing, and that their stuff would all come together and be brilliant. And I was just really concerned about letting the Upstart Collective down on my end. So yeah, no, it surpassed everything I could have imagined.
That's fantastic. Well, listen, thanks so much for chatting to us on Community of Independence, and well done on everything at Granby Park.
Hi, there's Aoife Barry back when it was sunny and warm in Dublin. That was Aoife reporting from Granby Park here in Dublin. I am joined by Cormac, aka Big Monster Love. Thanks very much for coming on the show.
You're welcome.
Let me ask you, with songwriting, when did you first start writing songs, Cormac?
Maybe when I was about 14 or 15, whenever Oasis were big first. I used to write these really dodgy lyrics in copybooks.
Was it
What you
aspirational?
gonna know and all this sort of stuff.
I was going to say, was it aspirational towards things like, do you know what I mean? All my people right here, right now. Yeah,
It was probably even before that, but yeah, it was that sort of cod Mancunian rubbish.
Have you tried to avoid the word sunshine since?
Yeah, I have.
Okay. And when did you feel like you found your own voice as a songwriter?
Well, after that, I learned to play an instrument because I just used to write songs in copybooks. And then I started playing gigs when I was 18, and as soon as I started playing, I started writing songs. Most of them were absolutely rubbish until I'd say I was in my early 20s, and then it sort of started making more sense. Chords and lyrics and verses and all of those things that make up a song. But I've been writing lyrics or poetry or whatever since I could, since I was a little kid. So yeah, it kind of hit my stride, I suppose, in my early 20s, and then never looked back.
Of course. Well, like, was there a point when you started writing about what was around you? Because that's always been a big factor in your music. Is other than COD Oasis stuff. After that, that's all I ever was really interested in. I couldn't emulate the people I was listening to, for the most part, and it was only maybe in my late teens I started getting into Irish folk music, and that always seemed much more interesting to me than most of the kind of American and British stuff. It seemed just more relevant. And then, so I can't really think what the very first proper song I wrote was. Maybe if you'd asked me beforehand, I might have dug it up out of my brain. But I think from the start, like, I was in a band called Strangleberries with Porg, who's in Tyrannosaur and Yeah Deadlies, and we released an album in 2004, so that was 9 years ago, and I would have written maybe a third of the songs or a quarter of the songs on that. So by then I was able to write a song for a good reel. Yeah. Well, a lot of songwriters in Dublin like your music, and there was a tribute album to Plunder Phonics which came out last year for charity. What was your reaction to that? You didn't know about it, did you?
It was completely bizarre because it was pure. It felt like pure happenstance that I was even in town the evening they sprang it on me with a big party, and I went to the room and I seriously for half a second thought there was like an intervention or something, because there's about 30 people that I know piled into an apartment, and then there was my songs playing in the background, except familiar but different. So yeah, it was very, very strange. It's quite flattering, but also kind of like, has nobody told me I'm dying or something like that? That's kind of what it felt like as well.
Yeah.
It was a very, very touching gesture on the part of the lads. You can still download it if you want. You can download it for free on Bandcamp, but if you do pay any money, it just goes to charity. So
yeah. And let me ask you, it's a couple of years since the first album. I almost swore there in a Sex Pistols moment, but we'll get back to that. It's a couple of years since the first album. So what are plans for album number 2?
They're on permanent hiatus. I think now, I feel, I was just thinking about this earlier, I think maybe releasing EPs might be more fruitful in the current climate, in that a lot of albums come out and just lots and lots of local stuff, and I'm not really sure how much attention people pay to anything beyond the first 3 tracks anyway, so I'm going to hopefully release an EP in January, and then a longer release sometime next summer.
Cool.
But my glacial pace of work, it could be the summer after that, you never know.
All right, we'll wait and see. Can you tell us about the song you're going to play for us tonight?
It's called Arden and Mara, which...
An area of Malahide.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Very
good, full marks. Arden and Mara is... Well, I actually forgot that it was an estate in in Malahide. I actually just made it in a generic housing estate setting. I feel a bit embarrassed explaining a song too much because it always sounds a bit ropey when you do that. But this one is probably the first song I've ever written that isn't, from my own perspective, it's meant to be a character rather than me. And I wrote it probably a year and a half ago. I have it recorded, but I just haven't got a final mix for it. But it will probably be on the next release.
Okay, well look, I won't press you too much on it, make you unravel it, overthink it before you play it. Well, thanks very much for coming to the show, Cormac. Will we descend into Sex Pistol swearing, or will I just let you play?
Whatever you want.
Okay, no, look, we'll have Big Monster Love here with Ard Namara on Community of Independence. Fucking.
All I've got's my particle accelerator, BMW dodgy radiator, and I don't need no highway scene. Oh, I'll take these rain-soaked borings that wend their way down to the western coast. They made me out as some kind of villain just because I made a killing. I didn't care what the papers say. Oh, I was too busy making hay. Oh, I don't know how those hacks they sleep at night. From Malin Head to Mizzen Head, give us the stay, our daily bread. I gave the people what they wanted, now they act all affronted. Oh, the golf course even cancelled my membership. Would that we could live in geological time, not the dew on the grass, the grape on the vine. I didn't care enough for you.